Hey, Sales Sharks Elite. Excited to spend a little bit of time with you today. Co-founder here, Casey Kelly of Sales Sharks Academy Agency and our group. I'm really excited to spend a few minutes just sharing with you a couple concepts that I feel like are very important. The first concept is the follow-up game, right? Some guys hate that word, but that's really what you're doing when you're in a sales transaction and you guys have moved to the next stage or step and they needed a little time to think about it, or they needed to look at their finances, or whatever objection they gave you that you weren't able to overcome in a one call close. And this is traditionally going to be for a two call close or a three call close, right? And what I mean by that, there's two differentiations. The one call close is typically where you're on the call, usually $10,000 or less is the ticket. You're having the call and conversation. You come to the close, and you're like, hey, do you feel like this could be the answer for you? And they say like, oh yeah, I do, but X, Y, Z. And then you overcome those objections. Now, in the last video, we dived into how to handle those objections, and I gave you some examples of ways to really get to the heart of that. So that's not what we're going to cover today. But follow up is when let's say you didn't overcome those objections on that call, or they just really needed some time to review due diligence information. This typically is in products that are like 20,000, 50,000, or $100,000 tickets. They're going to need a little time to either move their money around, or build their LLC and set up their business, or talk to their partners, or bring their partners and spouse into the conversation. So it's not a problem if you have to follow up or reconnect with someone. So let me walk you through the couple steps that I have used that found successful. The first thing that I tend to do is once we finish the call, I send them right away a informational video or informational message, depending on what your business operation is, of me just saying, hey, thanks for taking the call today with me. Here's a little more information that might help you. And then whatever you have, whether that's like, warehouse walkthroughs or customer service reports or proof of concepts or testimonials, whatever your business provides, I would add in that little video and show them, and then shoot that as like a message in an email, and then shoot a text and just said, hey, I just want to let you know I sent you over some due diligence information, or hey, I just sent you over some info to review before our next call. Now, follow up is everything. You'll notice in the end of our script that you need to actually book a second call on that first call if you're going to really be successful. So, for example, when you're at the end of the call and they say all their objections or whatever it may be, and you don't get the close, you can say, well, hey, typically what I like to do is just book another call if it's appropriate. And then what we could do is just kind of walk through the information at that time. Now, again, just so we're not chasing each other down, I've got my calendar in front of me. What does, and then pick a day 1 to 2 days out, and then let them tell you they need a little more time, or let them tell you that works, right? So say like if it's Monday, say like, what does like tomorrow, Tuesday or Wednesday look like for you? Around, I'm looking like I got a lot going on, around 3 p.m. Pacific time, which would be like 6 Eastern. Punchline is you want to sound very busy. You want to sound like, hey, you need to tie them down and they need to book with you now because they may not be able to talk to you again. That creates that authoritative relationship. And so then they say something effective like, oh yeah, that sounds good. I could do 2 o'clock at Wednesday. Cool, no problem. I got you booked in. Now, real quick, I'm just going to let you know I'm also going to send you some additional information to review before that call. A little bit of homework just to make sure that we're on the same page. Does that sound fair? They'll say yes, or they usually will say yes, and then you'll say, okay, cool, cool. Well, I've just sent you the confirmation information, and I'll reach out to you right after this call. Sounds good? Sounds good. Great to talk with you. Click. Then you start your process for follow up, right? And that's where you're going to send that message, that text, or the email first, and then the text message, just letting them know that you sent them that information. They'll usually respond back like thanks, or nothing, okay, or nothing at all. Or if you have a really good rapport going, that they'll actually say something like, hey, thanks so much, I had another question actually. You want to create that dialogue and keep that dialogue open so that you guys are connecting. Now let's say you booked out 2 days or 3 days later. The day of, you need to call them in the morning or shoot them a message if they don't answer, or both, and say, hey, I just was calling to confirm your appointment at 10 a.m. on Wednesday. Just wanted to confirm that you were going to make it, and beyond that, just wanted to see if there's anything else you needed for before we talk. Now I'm really looking forward to talking. So assume that they're going to come. Assume that they have additional information or questions. And usually, what'll happen is they'll be like, "Oh yeah, actually, I was planning on coming today, but my mom XYZ, and can I reschedule till Wednesday, Thursday, or can I change this?" So you're communicating, and if they do need to reschedule, don't be inflexible. Be like, "Sure, let me look at my calendar. Oh, it looks, and again, oh, it looks like it's a little tight, but I could squeeze you in at 2. Would that work for you? Okay, cool. And before we get on that call, is there anything you need from me? Like, did you see the homework? Did you see the due diligence? Did you see the whatever I sent you? Whatever, insert whatever you're able to send to them. That video you sent, or a couple minute thing. Now, again, that's important because you're keeping that communication line open and you're keeping that urgency on what you guys are talking about. Now, let's say, for example, you get to the call and they're there for that second call. I always just get on the call and the first thing I say is, "Hey, how's it going today?" in your neck of the woods, right? And I always kind of insert that there, or hey, how are you feeling today, right? I never say how are you thinking or what are your thoughts about these things. None of that. You don't want to get them thinking. You want them feeling. Get back in that engaged emotion. But on that second call, you're actually reselling them back into that emotional state that you had them in on the first call. So effectively, I get on and go, hey, this is just a simple reconnect. At the end of the day, we're not trying to spend too much time, going over everything because we already have done that. And I sent you some homework. I really just want to see how you're feeling about the opportunity, and then just be quiet. Just wait for them to respond. They'll usually say something like, well, blah, 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 or I'm working on this, or I'm not sure, or I have a little hesitation on ZYX. Can you answer that? So that reopens like the objection handling again, right, on this second call. Oftentimes, too, you'll get on that call if you've done a good job of sending due homework and due diligence and they followed up and they were faithful. Essentially, they'll just say, like, hey, I'm looking forward to the next steps. Like, what do we need to do? And you could say, oh, great. Like, let's get you started. Here's the contract. Here's the payment. Here's the whatever. However you do it, let's go. Secondary calls or regroup calls or follow-ups, as it's been termed, is not a problem. You just have to stay on top of the client, right? Now, let's say the client does not, like, they get on the phone and they decide that they're really not interested in that moment. Well, don't give up on it. Like, find out why they're not interested. Find out what concerns they have, right? And then ask them, hey, would it be okay to like regularly follow up with you and kind of regroup? Oh, and they'll always say, yeah, sure. Reach out in a week or two or a month, and you can say, sure, I'll reach out and send some messages, and we'll kind of go from there. Now, another thing I want to kind of mention to you as well, it's critical to have like a sequencing that you can send. And so there are five kind of key principles to connecting with a prospect, especially after the call. So write these down. It's know, like they want to know more about your company, okay, and the business operation. So you want to give them some information that gets them to know you a little more. Maybe things that your company does, how they work things out, how do they execute, those things like that. Second is like. So know, like, you want them to like you in that second communication. So I'm talking about like an email sequencing, like right after the call, you send out the due diligence information. Day 3, let's say you plan on talking to them, but you send out another email that's get to know you a little bit, and then get to like you a little bit. Liking is important because you want them to like what your company is about. So maybe it's a testimonial, maybe it's something about your guys' experience that kind of got them there in the first place. Whatever their pain point was, you can say, hey, Tom was just like you and he XYZ'd and wanted to provide for his family, and this is what it looks like. And then the third is trust. So know, like, trust. Once you do that, the next email that you want to send is kind of this trust relationship email or message, and say essentially, hey, I'm just wanted to kind of build some additional trust by sharing some of the experience of all these other clients. If you have a lot of testimonials, link them, boom, 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 boom. If you have no testimonials, get some. If you want to build trust, let them know that the returns you've been getting for clients, or whatever value proposition that is for your business that you work for. And then challenge is number 4. So know, like, trust, challenge. Fourth one's going to be like, hey, I just wanted to reconnect with you again and reach out and just let you know that, like, obviously you were interested at some point and you're still probably considering this, but let's get to the root of like working together. Like, what does this look like to work as a client and partner, and kind of get to the heart of like why we even had our first conversation. It's great to be friendly and relational, but you're there for business and so are they, right? You don't want to waste their time, so be succinct, be direct. You could use different AI bots to help you with this and writing this, or you could just kind of think through, keep it simple, silly, right? The KISS methodology. Just make it simple. And then finally, it's convert, right? So that's number 5. So essentially, you're going to want to know, like, trust, challenge, and convert, and follow those emails. And so usually, conversion is like, hey, this is kind of the last time I'm going to be reaching out to message you, and I don't really want to continue to pester you, but I really want to make sure that you don't miss out on this opportunity to increase your passive income or make more money or change your life or lose weight or whatever it may be, whatever your product is, the value proposition, and tie it to their pain point, right? So these can't just be automated emails in most circumstances. You can use automation, but you're going to want to be specific to common pain points, right? Like if you're in a weight loss industry, you know that they struggle with feeling overweight, tired, worn out, discouraged, insecure. Those are things. So you can speak to like that. But if they have specific things they said, add that in the body of the email. Now, what about like frequency and cadence of sending these types of messages? Typically, I like to do first phone call, schedule the regroup, jump off the call, send them a due diligence email or like a additional homework type email, and then text them and say, hey, I just want to let you know I sent you a message as well. That just keeps it in their foreground or forefront rather, so they're focusing on that. So day three, I want to send that no email, right? So get to know me. Day five, I want to send the like email. By day seven, so just like 2 day intervals. So like 1 week later, I want to send the trust email. And then day 9, 10, and 11, I'm sending out the challenge and conversion email. So by the time you hit like a 2 week, right, period, and you can play around with this to see how your customers react. But within 2 weeks, you have had your first call, your homework message, and then you send the no, like, trust, challenge, convert emails so that they can actually get everything that they need in a 2 week period. And then if they don't respond at all, then the lead's probably a little bit cold, and you'll just want to put that in long term nurture, right? Follow up in a month, follow up in a couple months, and just stay on top of that. I'll also send in this message as well something that really helped if someone no shows your call, right? So let's say they don't show up to the call. I'll send some just templates that you can send to them to try and get them converted. But hopefully this is helpful to you. Again, regroups, reconnects, follow-ups. This is the game, right? Probably 50% of my calls that I get conversion from historically out of 10,000 calls I've taken are going to be in the follow-up game. So you've got to get really good at this, and you got to start to build this. If you have questions, let me know. I look forward to seeing you grow in this. And if you have any stories you want to share about your follow-up game, feel free to comment below.